Hey y'all, it's called Life of Logos podcast. I'm having a thought, and if you've seen the last few videos, this is going to make some sense, but it's also a different perspective on an age-old story. So, to explain what was going on, long story short, as you all know if you've been following this podcast, I'm a business person, but not in your traditional sense, as in, I'm not one who's here for the money. I'm here to serve the people. I'm not here to serve mammon, I'm here to serve Christ in a business sense. What that means is taking care of your people, doing your things well, creating something that is of value to the world. Last week, and truthfully, every week since about my birthday, has been a shit situation. So, in essence, the business was about to go down, and it ultimately it did. Spoiler alert. But I got to a point where I realized that this business that I'm doing, which is the recruiting and staffing business, is not a business that I want to continue. I don't see a lot of potential in it. And what it would require from me in order to get it to happen is something that I did not want to do and do not want to do. Nothing weird, but nothing I want to do. My secondary business was one that I had built with a collection of people in order to do small business marketing for small businesses. That was getting traction, and it really was about to pick up steam in some ways. And then we just ran out of money, flat out. So, in the matter of days, we went from having money to not only not having money, but losing $20,000 up front and being saddled with a $200,000 bill. That is the worst thing that could have happened in a business sense. Two? We lost two in a week? We did. And the entire time, I was praying that if there was any way that there would be a miracle that show up or something come out of the blue or something happen, that would be the time to do it. God, if you could, just give me, maybe we catch a sale. Maybe the funnel thing and the marketing finally takes off just a little bit. Maybe anything works. And nothing did. And I got to the point mentally, and this is something where I've been struggling this entire time. If you've seen these videos, you would know that I have a bit of a belief in which I am the least loved in the kingdom of heaven. And that when God shows up, God's going to show up late. And I realized I was praying to the wrong God. Weird. And that's a provocative way to say that I was praying to the wrong God. I was praying in hopes that we would avoid the calamity. But I wasn't praying to be the one who survives the calamity, which is a very different mindset. Provocatively said, it is not exactly what I'm trying to communicate. I had been praying so hard that I would avoid the struggle, the pain, the tragedy, the illness, anything. And whenever those things would happen, I would then tell myself it's because God is late or because God doesn't care. However, the God that I claim to pray to is the same one that let his son go through it. You don't really think about this so much because we look at the whole corpus of the Christian life. When I say Christian life, I do mean the passion of the Christ. Because he got up and we're all like, yay! But he died first. He died. Not fainted, not swooned, put him in the ground, he's dead. Then the greatest miracle of all time happened when he got up. Even God, even for Jesus, God said, you're going through it. As Jesus was praying in the garden, Lord, if you could, please pass this cup from me. He still said, no, you have to go through it. Taking this back to my situation, from the business standpoint, this was the worst thing that could happen. And it happened. From Christ's standpoint, the death was the worst thing that could happen. And it happened. And God was still God after the worst thing had happened. In fact, he redeemed that worst thing into something more beautiful. And that's where I realized I had been spending my entire life praying that God help me avoid the pain as opposed to being the God who sees you through the pain, as the God who redeems the pain, the God who is greater than the pain. That's a whole different viewpoint. It's a whole different understanding of who God is and what he does. Because that God is never late. And what may have come across as God is late because he's letting me go through this pain. God doesn't love me because he's letting me go through this pain. It's probably the opposite. God loves you so much that he's going to take this pain and he's going to make it to something that cannot beat him. Because even death could not beat him. Potential bankruptcy and losing 2 businesses doesn't beat him. And he loves you so much that he'll let you go through that just to prove to you how much more and how much bigger he is. That is a whole new perspective on God. To me, that's groundbreaking. That's earth-shattering. And I find myself fortunate enough to have gone through it, to be able to understand who God is now. He's not the God of comfort. He's God of life. He's not the God of cushions. He's the God of healing through the pain, which makes life look so much different in a sudden blink of an eye. Because what is pain then? What is the struggle? What is the loss? If what you get on the other side is so much greater than the life that you had before the loss. David wrote in the Psalms that even if I make my bed in Sheol, you will still be there. Which translated into my perspective, if I lost his businesses, the house, the friends, the status, all of that, and I was under a bridge in downtown LA, God would still be there. Still in his perfect will and still in his sovereignty to make a way through that. In a way that's greater, at this point, greater than I even have control over. Because the part of me that had control died to get here. How deep is the Father's love for us that it even fill the abyss? My thoughts. I'm Colin Charles, and this is Life of Logos.